Welcome back to part two about how to get back with your ex the right way and how to make it work this time around. Again, we're going from expert advice online. So, they're giving you, the best things and the best ways to repair, this relationship. So, they said they want to congratulate you. And I know you're like, on what? They're like, you're here because you and your beloved are getting back together. They say you guys are giving it another shot after a break. And you simply are questioning, like what to do, like to keep things, in good grace. And then they're like, here's the thing, you've only taken the first step towards a true reunion. Makeup XXX. While is amazing, they said does not build a lasting partnership. They said you've got a long road ahead. They said, can a relationship go back to normal after a breakup? Take it from me. There are a few things you should do to give your relationship the best possible shot. They said, how do I know? This person said in 2016, their then girlfriend and them broke up after 10 stormy months. 5 weeks later, they reunited. That's a quick reconciliation. Then they said a year and a half after breaking up, we were married, and a little more than 2 years later, we welcomed our daughter into the world. Reunited, and it feels pretty good. Then he was like, getting back together worked for them, but that doesn't mean they have all the answers. Far from it. Everyone's situation is unique to them. Even after his relationship experience, some people that they're just saying they recommend stay broken up. Then they said on the other hand, they've done a lot of work, and that should be enough to give the relationship the best chance of success. And they was just like, what they discovered is a set of principles that can be applied to just about any breakup turn makeup to either prevent future ruptures or help you decide to call it quits for good. So then they should then this person said, y'all should decide, should we do this again? They said the relationship had to end. Now, a week or a month later, it feels like it has to continue. It's crazy, but something about the stress and emotional monumentum of breakups makes it shockingly easy to relapse back into something that in the very recent past you wanted to get rid of. The first question you must ask before you get back together is, should we even be together at all? If the relationship involved physical, emotional, or verbal abuse, manipulation, deception, fraud, or substance abuse, the answer is a straightforward no. Of course, when you're in an abusive relationship, things can be anything but straightforward. But the fact remains, if your partner harms you or you harm them, it cannot continue. They said if you or someone you know is experiencing abuse, call the National Domestic Abuse Hotline. Then they said if you're not sure whether you're in an abusive relationship or not and aren't ready to call, try this online screening tool. They said if abuse isn't an issue, it's still important to consider if this is a relationship with a strong foundation or not. They said, do you share the same values? Do you share a religion or set of spiritual beliefs? Do you consider your partner to be a moral, trustworthy person? Does work mean you're actually long distance most of the time? Most importantly, do you want the same things? Then they said breakups can be really, really gut-wrenching, hard. But most happen for a reason. There may be wisdom in your breakup, even if that's not apparent right now. There's something else to consider during stressful or emotionally charged times. It's biochemically impossible to do your best thinking. That's why it's important to seek advice from a trusted friend. Then they said, if you or your ex are trying to rapprochement, they said, ask them, should we be doing this, and be prepared for them to say no. They said address the breakup directly. Breakups aren't like, we won't say what they just said because it's so inappropriate. They said you can't just hop back in and pretend it never happened. They said that you should talk about it. I'm skimming over this. Okay. They said don't pretend like the breakup didn't happen. Okay, so I'm skimming through. Okay, so then they recommended people get a counselor. Okay, and then they're talking about why they got a counselor. Okay. And then the next thing they recommended was to build trust. Work on rebuilding trust. Because it says most breakups always involve shattered trust. Even if a separation is totally mutual and transparent, it's destabilizing for the relationship itself to go away. Rebuilding trust is essential. Then they said, for my then recent ex-girlfriend and I, trust building started small, and we didn't really talk about it at first. We simply made sure we called one another when we said we would call, no matter what else was going on at work or in life. If I said I would call her at 6 p.m., I made it happen. Pick a few simple, doable daily acts that you can use to start rebuilding trust and do them religiously. Bigger, deeper things will follow. Then they said, stop trying to win. If you reconnect to immediately start fighting about the same old things, you're not doing it right. Makeups are fragile time. When you're trying to reconnect with some of the magic that brought you together in the first place, so it's key to call a ceasefire on certain hot button issues until you can bring them to counseling or build enough trust to talk about them productively. In our first attempt, I was so obsessed with the rightness and righteousness of my own position that I lost sight of an essential truth. You have to set the partnership up for success, not yourself. On the second try, we tried really hard to communicate, understand, and negotiate rather than score wins against one another. Then they said, be open with your friends and family. You may have said some pretty awful things about this person, and now you're back with them and feeling a little sheepish. Don't make the mistake of being sneaky about it. However, your friends and family support you through the breakup. If you have solid reasons for trying again, don't be ashamed of them. Explain your thinking and give them time to adjust. What you don't want is for your people to feel blindsided when you and them arrive at a family Christmas wearing matching sweaters and everyone still believes they're the worst. Okay. Then they said it's about assessing your goals. Okay, you got a counselor, started talking instead of fighting, and have rebuilt a considerable reserve of trust. Now what? I believe it's important to continue setting and assessing new goals for your makeup. For us, this involved taking on individual challenges. And then they say you can determine if this is a relationship that's strong enough and flexible enough to grow and change as you do. Then they said don't overthink it. Look, unless someone is truly awful or abusive, go for it. And be open to things not working out on the second try. Then they said, what does the body want? If you're an overthinker, it's easy to get lost making lists of pluses and minuses. Sometimes we're drawn to someone without knowing why. Then they said some people, and I count myself in this group, need to experience losing something before they can appreciate it. Then they said it looks different for everyone. The shortest breakup I know of lasted about 30 minutes in college. Two friends of mine had an argument, broke up, stormed off, and reunited before the episode of Shark Week was over. Other makeups may be years in the making. Some may need the smooth stylings of D'Angelo to make sense. Then they said they asked their wife what advice she would give a couple just starting out. Her response, just move across the country and have a baby. I want to stress this is typically not a good idea, but the truth is, what doesn't end a relationship permanently can make it stronger. You and your partner must decide together if your breakup is a difficult chapter or the final one. It has the potential to be a funny, bittersweet story you tell friends over dinner in 10 years' time. Okay. So that is pretty much the end of that. Now we can see some of the comments. This person said, if it didn't work the first time, it won't work the second time. Never try to get back with an ex. This person said, this article literally written by someone who is now married to a person he experienced a breakup with. Breakups happen for a lot of reasons. I agree with your comment. If there's a second half to it, never try to get back with your ex if you're not both committed to growing emotionally. Next person commented, that's valid, but it's in the vast minority of cases. I'm not trying to cast negativity on this, but often articles like this offer false hope to those looking to win back their ex. If one person wants the relationship and the other doesn't, which is why most end, it's an act of futility. Another reason a lot of relationships end is a lack of commitment or emotional maturity to begin with. I've had relationships in my 20s that didn't work that may have likely worked if we were both in our 30s or 40s. I'm also speaking from experience as a mature adult. I have gotten back together with my ex on more than one occasion. It never worked and only valid the reasons why it didn't work to begin with. If not for anything else, it provided more clarity on the situation for those that can do this and make it work. That's great, but it leads to unhealthy territory for the vast majority. Okay. And then the next person, they was just like, they agree with everything the previous people were saying. They said their personal bias with this article is that the guy reading it may have been the cause of the breakup, and that most of what we cover is from that lens, though it is not exclusive to it. Because of that, the guy is in a position to realize he was wrong possibly, and it isn't a situation where he's trying to convince a partner to be with him that doesn't want to be with him. That would be bad, as you say. The other point of this article is to destigmatize the reconnecting of a broken couple in culture. There is a lot of unnecessary baggage people have to wrestle with when considering getting back together, from looking weak or like a fool to judgment that things never work out after a breakup. If it's healthy and a growth base, 100% support two people calling off a breakup, regardless of whether or how long it ends to last, whatever they mean there. My college girlfriend and I broke up briefly senior year, got back together, and were together for another 8 years after that. It ultimately ended. But that was not a reflection of college breakup being proof that we should have stayed broken up. Some of my most important and growth-inducing moments happened in those 8 years. Relationships are hard. Being human is hard. Being human with another human is very hard. We're all figuring it out the best we can. Sometimes as a part of that, we make rash decisions or decisions that we're unable to fully flesh out with where we were at the time. And if that's a breakup and we no longer think that was the answer, then we should move forward accordingly. Then the next person said, all good, and I'm big on reflecting, and it's one of the best things to come out of the crisis for me personally. Next person said, maybe I've just become a bit jaded. I've recently turned 40, and last time I checked, I was 22. I had more time to reflect on things as well, being unemployed due to COVID. Next person said, I'm a professional therapist that works with couples on their relationships. Through this work, I often recommend that the couple see individual therapists as well as working on couples therapy. Working on the self is also important while trying to repair a relationship. Okay? So they said this article gives a good outline to achieve a repair in the relationship, not just when a breakup is involved, but also whenever the relationship is struggling. Next person said, good day. Are you out there and you are going through relationship breakup and you desperately need your lover back and you do not know how to go about it? Or you want that ex-lover to love you so much? Then they said, I will advise you to contact this great prophet who... I don't know why they post stuff like this. Okay, so the next person said, my boyfriend and I just decided to take a break. It's not the same as a dramatic breakup, but it's just as difficult. He is a wonderful person, treats me so well, but he is dealing with trauma from events from his past marriage. Then she was like, emotional abuse, manipulation, and a lot of... trying to see... and a lot of infidelity, to name a few. He is acting on the advice of his counselor to step back from our relationship and work through some of that trauma that has prohibited him from moving forward in our relationship. Then she said, this is the second time we have done this. We did this a year ago for the same thing, but different anxieties. I believe with all of my being that this relationship, when we are both healthy, could be incredible. And then she said it's the best relationship she's ever had, but this time hurts a little more, and she feels he's going to have to earn her trust if she's willing to get back together down the road. And she's like, love is hard, and she feels a little pathetic being hopeful that the chance comes. Okay, so that's the end of part 2 about how to get back together with your ex and how to make it work. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and if you have any comments yourself about how to get back with your ex, comment below and like the video and share and subscribe.